Hey, Dan, how are you, bud? CS, how are you, man? I want to start just a little bit early. We're just going to let everybody sort of catch up. I posted a link a few more places. Just try to give them a little bit more time. We got about 15 minutes. So we're just going to hang out, goof off. Got any questions beforehand before we get started? We'll tackle those and go from there. Yes, sir. Go for it, CS. Okay. Okay. I've never had it say that. Let me ask you this: where's your point one mounted? Okay, that's good. Yeah. So the deal is you don't want to use the. Yes, that's exactly right. You want to use it for a heading sensor, but you don't want to use it for the GPS. So what you have to do is you have to go into your HDS and go pages, settings, network, data sources. When you go into data sources, you'll see GPS up top. Most likely, all right below it, it's going to say all data and it's going to say global. So what you need to do is click the right arrow on the right, go down, go to scope, change that to local, and then change the setting on the local part to where it says this unit. That way the GPS is marking up front, which is where the trolling motor is actually seeing. So that's where you want it to mark. And I'm going to cover all this in the seminar. This is the reason we're doing this tonight, because there's a lot of confusion going on, and I'm starting to get pounded with questions on the same exact thing. So then on the back, we'll change it to local, and we'll make sure that the back one is using the GPS for the point one. But the heading we're going to leave on global, so it uses everything across the network. The heading and the vessel, we want to make sure that when you turn on both of them, it's at the same pace. So that's how you're doing that, and that's going to give you the most accurate readout all the way around. I hope that got it. You need to do it as you described, because one of the things is, if you're on global, one thing that's most people don't quite get is, if you leave it on global, that means that you're actually, when you change one, you're changing everything else. If it's on global, global means you're changing everything on the network to whatever you just changed it as. So you want both of those to set on local, so they're making their own decisions. Thanks, David. I posted about 4 or 5 other forums too, in groups. CS, I'm actually going to go into it real detailed in this seminar. So we'll do that here in just a minute. That'll be one of the very first things that I cover for you. Jonathan, what part of the country are you in? Can everybody hear me okay? Do I need to turn it up or everybody good? Okay, Jonathan. So the social maps on CMAP, a little bit hit or miss. I mean, it was like, they've got guys out there that's mapping. I map a lot. Everything else pretty much. CMAP, as soon as the new mapping comes out, they're mapping Tennessee River right now. They're going to be mapping starting South Carolina January 1st. So as they're mapping the more popular areas right now, the most concentrated stuff that people would use, when CMAP is finally released, the stuff that we're using right now, when it's finally released to the public, is going to be jam up better than anything else on the market by far. Until then, as of right now at this moment, I would recommend updating your Navionics card, because probably you're looking 5, 6, 7 months, maybe even 8 months out on CMAP Pro to get a full out version that is, jam up. Let me catch up on questions. Jonathan, I hope that helps, bud. Hey, boy. Yeah, man, mine's going good. Everything's, man, we're staying busy. It's wide open right now, to the point of I got my tail caught yesterday in a nasty storm. I've been trying to get everything in early, but pushed it to the limits a little bit yesterday, and me and the customer both got caught. Yeah, Tom Branch is a good buddy of mine. We have worked together at Lowrance, and he's working at Navionics right now. I've done some seminars for Tom. We help each other out a lot. Tom is one of the greatest guys you guys will ever meet. He is jam up, hands down. Do anything in the world for you and help you any way he possibly can. My guys at CMAP are steadily mapping. These guys are working night and day, sleepless nights, trying to get this stuff out. And I see the mapping boats going wide open. I got all my buddies on Facebook, and they're posting pictures. They're going crazy, getting everything as fast as possibly done. I know one was on Wheeler today. So from what I'm understanding, I'm thinking, last I heard, and I don't quote me on this, but I'm thinking July, August timeframe, maybe Tennessee River. I may be a little early, but that was last conversation I had with Candler. I haven't talked with him in probably a couple months. I know he's slammed, I'm slammed, everybody's slammed. So yeah, and other thing, guys, is right now, I know I've got a couple questions sitting in my inbox right now from customers asking about, they've submitted files and it's taken 3 or 4 weeks to get the maps back. Just be patient with these guys, man. They're out on the water all the time, and they're trying to get all of this stuff done. If it's a specific lake that you're really needing, contact me. I'll pass it up the chain. I just need the name, the username that it was submitted under, and go from there. And if I don't have none of that information, it's sort of hard for me to challenge the bull up there and say, hey, why ain't this getting done? And then he asked me who it is, and I'm like, some guy with a boat. So if you have a specific instance, just let me know. It really depends on CS. It just really and it never applied to Arkansas River. It really just depends. If you all right. So that's what I need. So Dan and CS, both of y'all guys, when we get off this seminar, if you contact me, I need your usernames, your emails, and what lakes and everything that pretty much that their mapping was actually done on and when it was submitted. So if you can log back into your Insight Genesis account and actually get that to me, I will start poking the bear up there and see if I can get some answers. I know I was talking to Mark, I think it was last week, about ICAST and asking a couple questions as far as I had gotten more questions about the Insight Genesis pretty much, and go from there. So if it's something critical, local lake, something like that doesn't have any mapping at all, let me know, like I said, and I can start asking some questions. Bassinet altitude, yes, sir. You can still update it. The latest version is 6.0 for the Gen 2 Touch. As far as upgrading, they're not going to basically, how Lowrance works is you got a 2-year warranty, and then you have a 5-year ultimate upgrade deal, which basically within that next 3 years, they'll upgrade you to the latest and greatest unit for a discounted price. That's the ultimate upgrade. So with that being said, new stuff's coming out right after ICAST. Some of the stuff's going to be announced at ICAST. Nothing more I don't think is actually going to be released there, but going to be a lot of stuff going on there, all for the good. We've got some new exciting stuff coming out. Yes, sir. All right, guys, we got just a couple minutes. Has anybody else been getting storms every afternoon? They've been getting some bad ones around here. We're losing power and trees down and everything else. It seems like I'll get about 4 classes done a day out of my 6 or 7, and then at about 4 o'clock it starts getting ugly, and I have to start running for the hills. Dang, I hate to hear that, CS. Jonathan, let's see. Yes, definitely. Screenshots always help me. One of the things, guys, if you're contacting me, I know I keep saying this, but one of the things that really makes my job a little bit easier is instead of taking a picture with your phone, because I'm guilty of it too, is my screen will get splashed, water spots on it. It'll have who knows what on it. If you actually take a screenshot, which is pages and the power button at the same time, if you take a screenshot, save it. It basically saves it on your unit. So in order to get to it, you just go to Pages, you go to Files, My Files, scroll down to Screenshots, click on that, and it'll say Copy. You can copy it to your card, or if you got a lot of them, you can hit the right arrow and copy them all to your card. Then Facebook, text me, whatever you need to do, but send me a screenshot versus the actual picture of your screen. Because it may not look bad to you, but from where I'm at, what I'm getting is I'm getting a picture of you in the screen. And I can't really see. So I'm getting the glare and the reflection is what I'm seeing. I try to zoom in on everything real hard pretty much with my photographic software and sort of look and see, what I can pay attention to and what, if you got interference or anything else. And go from there. So if you're going to send me something, just try to take a real good quality screenshot. So, all right, guys, it's 8:02 Eastern Time, 7:02 Central. So today we are going to be talking about, well, first things first. Let me get some thank yous out of the way right across people that makes this as really possible as that actually is. Lowrance, for one. They are constantly helping me out. I'm returning the favor. They make my life a little bit easier, pretty much allowing me to pretty much excel and suggest and doing the things that I love to do. So big thanks to Lowrance for sure. Second person I need to thank is Precision Sonar. Randy Coons is, if many of you guys don't know him, he teaches Lowrance classes, or used to teach Lowrance classes on Kentucky Lake. Really good guy, him and his wife, Martha. I helped them pretty much start up with the Facebook page of Precision Sonar and had been with them since they started. And they make some of the best, brackets on the market, hands down. If I'm 6'1", 270 pounds, and I can stand on my console brackets and use it as a ladder. And that's just a testament pretty much to the quality they make. So that makes some really jam up stuff. It's precisionsonar.com. All the supporting sponsors, High Seas Fishing Line, Phoenix, Yamaha, all those guys help in every way they can. Tight Lines UV, Hunters Headquarters, 13 Fishing. Just want to give a big thanks and huge shout out to them, and telling them how much I appreciate them helping me, fishing every year and being able to do what I love to do. So with that being said, topic tonight, networking. The reason I wanted to cover this, I'm getting a lot of questions and a lot of confusion. So what we're going to say is we're going to talk about the units that can be networked, how they should be networked, and why they should be networked the way that I'm suggesting. So first of all, there's two different networking systems. There's NEMA 2000 and there's Ethernets. So first of all, we're going to cover what units will network. So we're going to have the Elite TI units. They can network via NEMA 2000. So what that's going to allow you to do is that's actually going to allow you to run a 0.1 external antenna. That's going to allow you to share waypoints, as long as on the TI units, as long as both touch interface units, TIs, are actually on. Both of these are slave units, so they have to be on to receive the waypoints. They're not like an HDS where they're actually a primary. So you can make waypoints on one. If you turn the HDS off or it's already off, whenever it comes on, it's going to push it to it. The TI units are not like that. They both have to be on to actually receive the waypoints. So just don't forget about that. Even though they're networked, they both have to be on to receive. The Hook 2 units and the Hook units are non-networkable. They're good for entry levels, pontoons, small bass boats, entry level bass boats where you're not worried about really sharing waypoints. Now, that being said, you can always save them to an SD card and load them on the other one, but they're not networkable. So one of the benefits, the reason a lot of people go with the HDS systems and the carbon systems is because they have, even the older HDS systems, everything was done via Ethernet and NEMA. Ethernet basically shares your waypoints, your mapping. That's the benefit of having, the HDS systems and the carbon systems is you can actually go in, whenever you put a Navionics card or a CMAP card in, like on my 316s, or I'll run 316s. If I'm going to an ultra clear lake, I'll throw a 12 on top. And then basically what's going to happen is I've got all of those units networked together. And with my Ethernet, so I'll have a Navionics on 116, a CMAP Pro on the right, and now pretty much I can alternate those and see what the differences are in the contours, and it shares across the whole network. So I get to see firsthand, and compare side by side what's going on in real time. With the waypoints, same thing with the waypoints. Now you can share waypoints across NEMA, again, with HDS systems. You just have to go in and turn it on. Honestly, I like sharing across Ethernet. It's a lot faster. But the big reason, and one of the big conversation topics that we're going to actually talk about tonight, in order to run a 0.1 antenna, which I would suggest on every bass fisherman or normal fisherman's boat, you want to run a 0.1 antenna. One of the base requirements of running a 0.1 antenna is you have to have a NEMA 2000 network. Now, I'm not going to make fun of the guy, but I got a good laugh. Well, a lot of us got a good laugh. Had an individual pretty much contact me with, he took a regular NEMA 2000 T, and plugged it directly in to the port on the back of the HDS 12 Gen 3. Contacted me and said, hey, I can't get my Ethernet plug because the T is blocking the port. Guys, these things have to have a NEMA backbone that is powered. You can't just plug these antennas directly into the units. So it's, we all got a good laugh out of that. That was funny. But the thing about this NEMA system that really, if you're going to use any kind of brush piles, anything that is submerged underneath the surface, and you want to basically make a perfect cast on it, when I'm fishing these tournaments and I'm marking this stuff, I want to basically pull up, have my heading extension on, and whenever I put that heading extension on and I have distance to destination turned on and I hit 40 feet, I hit spot lock, and I want to make my cast and know 100% that I'm going to hit that object. And one of the things that I'm getting ready to cover is a lot of people are misunderstanding on where to place that 0.1. Up until this year, I've done a lot of testing and a lot of actually playing with running 2.1s only because I was experimenting with a lot of different stuff. So there's no really need to run 2.1s unless you're picky like I am. So the best place that you can put your 0.1 on the rear is the closest to your rear transducer as possible. I'm going to tell you why. Now, everybody sort of assumes that the GPS on these things are absolutely dead on. So just so everyone knows, and I know if everybody assumes it is, but it's not. But on any given day, depending on the movement of the Earth and the GPS satellites in space and everything else, we're on average 5 to 12 foot off, just depending on your signal strength, everything else. just as, just so you have an idea. Whenever you mark that waypoint, it's not going to be dead on, but it can be pretty close. I mean, it all just depends on how much, if it's cloudy and your blockage or, whatever, that's all going to depend on your connection. And you can see the strength on your units. And that'll be another video that, we'll have to tackle and show you how to do that. But there's plenty of YouTube videos out there, showing you how to do that. So basically what we want to do, the reason we want to put our 0.1 over our rear transducer is we want to mark whatever we're seeing right off the transducer, right? So if we're going to do it like this, we're going to make it easy. So this is the center of the boat. If I touch over here to the right, what that transducer just seen, I want to touch there, and it's going to give us latitude and longitude coordinates. What we want to do is you never want to just double tap your flag button. You always want to touch your unit or whatever object. If it's a brush pile, if it's a fish, or if it's actually whatever. You want a marker shoreline or a dock, anything else. You always want to touch it. When you touch it, that gives it a latitude and longitude location. And with your GPS, your puck sitting as close to the rear transducer as possible, within a foot, you're going to be pretty close as much as allowed. So one of the misconceptions is, and I know a lot of these boat manufacturers, and I've talked to Ranger, Skeeter, Phoenix. I've dealt with all of them. Triton. I talk to them on a daily basis. I work with the factory guys, and it's real easy for those guys to put that puck right behind the seat when they're building the boat, because they've got it pre-drilled. Everything is there. They drop it in. Bam, they're done. It's in two pieces. It's real easy to put together right there. But one of the things they don't tell you is now, from wherever your back seat is on your driver's seat right there, now you're automatically roughly 6 foot off from whatever you're marking. So that's the reason most people have issues of saying, man, I found this awesome brush pile. I marked it up good. Everything is good to go. Man, I rode back over it and I can't find it anymore. I don't know what happened. Well, first of all, they're not taking into consideration that whenever they punch, even if they touch that latitude and longitude, now that the GPS is sitting right behind the seat, you're still going to be that far off from where you're at. So before I go any further, I'm going to cover a little thing that we need to basically address. So when you're setting up a system with a 0.1 CS, this is where you need to write down. What we're going to do is we need to tell the rear units that we want to use the rear 0.1, the 0.1. If it's as close as if you want to go to as close as possible, so you want your puck sitting right over your rear transducer. I know it's going to be a foot or so, whatever. So you want to tell your console unit to use the GPS from the 0.1 versus the GPS from inside the unit. So in order to do that, what we have to do is defaultly, as soon as you plug up a 0.1 and get it within the whole system, what you're going to have to do is it automatically goes to global, and it defaults and says both units are using the 0.1. So most people don't think about that. So if you're up on the front, and you see whatever you're marking on the front and you hit waypoint without changing it, now you're 21 foot off right off the bat. So in order to fix that, what we need to do is we need to tell the units how to use the 0.1. So right off the bat, the vessel, the heading, which left and right, which none of these units have from stock, none of them on any manufacturer have a heading sensor, basically. So it's built in. None of those have a built-in heading sensor. So what we're doing is we're using the 0.1 as when boat turns to the left, it's going to move a little to the left. If you put it in reverse, the arrow is going to back up. Where before, all it's using is a GPS knowledge. So if you would have kicked that boat in reverse, what would have happened is that arrow would have turned 180 degrees and thought you were going backwards, because it's automatically thinking, well, if the boat's moving that way, he must want to go that way. Other thing is that happens, and I see this tons and tons and tons, and I get a lot of questions on the forums and the groups, is I've got my map. I don't have a 0.1, but when I'm sitting still, my map is spinning around like it's on the top. It goes left, it goes right, it goes crazy. That's because you don't have a heading sensor. But as soon as you start to move, then it straightens up, because it can detect where you're going. So with a 0.1, that eliminates all that. So as I was saying, now that your 0.1's back there at your rear transducer, so what we're going to do is we're going to tell your console unit that, hey, I want to use the GPS from the 0.1, not from the internal unit. Even though it defaults it to the 0.1, we need to go in and make a small change. So on HDS systems, what we're going to do, and TI units, we're going to go to Pages, Settings, Network, Data Sources, and the very top selection is going to be GPS. So we're going to press GPS once. Once we go to GPS, underneath it, you're going to see all data, or out beside GPS, it's going to say global. So what we need to do, so global means, this is a big misunderstanding also, global means when you make one change and there's another unit on the network, it's changing it at the same time that you're doing that. So we need to go over to the right-hand corner on the right where the little blue arrow is. We need to press that, go to scope, change it to local. Okay? Now, under GPS, we want to make sure that it says 0.1 and 4 numbers. Not auto 0.1 and 4 numbers. 0.1. Make sure it says 0.1, not auto 0.1. Now you have told that unit to look directly at that GPS puck for the GPS marking. That's where you're marking from. So if you touch the flag twice, you're marking directly where the puck is. That's where it's saying. If you, okay, well, I just went by something 65 foot to the right. I'm a double flag. Well, you just missed it 65 feet to the right. You have to touch it. Gives it a latitude and longitude. Once you touch it, then you hit your waypoint, you name it, you're good to go. You're within a foot. So that being said, the next problem I see is nobody changes the front unit. The second you change that rear unit, now the front one is still left on global. So what you need to do is you need to go to your front unit. This is where it gets a little tricky, guys. Once you go to your front unit, we need to tell that front unit that we want to work off the internal GPS of your front unit, not the 0.1. But we want to use the heading from the 0.1 to keep us from spinning. So what we need to do with that, we need to go to the same exact place. We need to go to Pages, Settings, Network, Data Sources, go to GPS. Out beside it, it's going to say Global. Right away, our first task is changing that to local. Go press your blue arrow, go to Scope, go to Local. As soon as you go to Local, you're going to go right back over to GPS and go underneath and expand the selections. And it's going to have 0.1 selected. What you need to do is you need to select this unit. So now what you've done by changing both of those units to local is you've told the front unit, hey, I want to be as close to the front trolling motor transducer and mark it off of it, which that's where my unit is, within a foot or so. I'm going to mark off of that front one. And when you mark from the back, you're going to be marking off the back, which is the rear transducer. So by clearing that up, now you're within a foot. Anything with a brush pile within a foot, you're going to be seeing it no matter what. So within that foot and the global positioning satellites, up in space, you're within, whatever that arrow positioning is. So Now, where the confusion sets in, real big, is on vessel. If you actually go right below GPS, okay, David, I will go right below GPS, and you're going to see vessel. And you're going to have heading, pitch, and roll. Click on heading, and it's going to say global. Keep that on global. So that means that your rear and your front is using the heading from the point one, but not the GPS. So now what you've done is you've separated your GPS sources. So on the front now, once you say, "Oh man, I'm going right over this brush pile," touch your brush pile, hit your waypoint, you name it. Now you're within a foot. All right, the video skipped for some people. I'm going to restate what I just said about the heading. The heading is shared basically all the way across. It stays on global. You never change your heading because you want both units to use the heading, which is the turn and the rate of turn. You know, which way it's going. When you hit using the point one, if you put it in reverse, the arrow is just going to basically move backwards. It's not going to turn around like it used to. So the heading stays on global, and both of them are using the heading. The only thing that you're changing the local is the GPS. So if y'all got any questions, we can address them at the end. That's the big thing that we're looking at with that, and being able to select and be accurate with your waypoints. That's the biggest gripe I hear. People going out spending $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 and like, "Hey man, I marked a waypoint. I don't know what the deal is, but I can't find them. I just put in 10 brush piles myself, and I rode back over them, and I waypointed each one of these. I spent all week putting out these brush piles for this tournament, and I go up there and I make 10 casts, and I can't hit the damn brush pile. What's going on? What's wrong with these units?" Well, there's nothing wrong with the units. What's doing is you're actually missing the brush pile either by 8 foot, 6 foot, 20 foot, because your units aren't set up properly. So keep that in mind. If you're not seeing, one of the easiest things to do in the world, put something in that you know is there. Put a brush pile in, put a brick in, whatever. Mark it. Once you make these changes, mark it on your rear transducer, right? Turn around, go out there and wheel around a little bit, come back, zoom all the way in as far as it'll go, and run right over it. And within a foot, you'll see that same location. Usually within that arrow positioning satellite there. Depends on how cloudy and nasty it is. So the other thing that we need to talk about with this NEMA 2000 network, when you build a NEMA 2000 network, you've got T's, you've got your drop lines. On the bottom of the T's, Mark, I'll address that here in just a little bit. I just was talking about that. You can go back in the video and see. Well, I'll address it at the end. Is when you build a NEMA 2000 network, you've got to have a terminator at each end. And the T's, one of the T's has got to be your powered, your switched powered. You don't want basically where your NEMA 2000 is powered 24/7. Your point one's back there on all the time. So you want it on a switch. Usually I put it on an accessory switch, or I just put it on the main switch. As soon as you turn your main power on, that's whenever pretty much you want your NEMA system to awake. That way pretty much it locks on the heading. Everything is good. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, I think CS just answered that for you, Mark. But whenever you're doing that, now I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to pick the camera up and I'm going to put you over to my other screen. So I've just got a basic NEMA 2000 network diagram here. And then I'm going to continue to talk. If you can't hear me say something in the things, but I'm going to actually show you what we're looking at here. And we can add as many T's as we need to. But I'm going to let you look real quick. So hang on, guys. Let's see here. All right. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at our T here. Our drop line is going to be our power node that goes to a switched on and off 12 volt. Our next T is going to be a drop line to the 0.1. Our next T is going to be to our console unit, to the head unit, whichever one you want. If you're only running one, you only need one T. But at each end, it's got to be terminated. Now, one of the things that I do a lot whenever I install them is you've got this right here going, but then this connection right here is that 15-foot extension cable that runs to the front of the boat, and then it's got a T up there and terminated up there. That, like I said, that's very simple. That's the basic NEMA 2000 network. You add as many T's, and the things that you really need to pay attention when you're doing the NEMA 2000 network, if you start to get a lot of T's there, is what you want to do is you want to put your power in the center of your T's. That way it distributes evenly. In other words, if you got, say, an ungodly amount of T's, say you got 8 T's, you don't want your power on one end because basically pushing all the way. If you put your power in the middle, all you have to do is just replace your T, position it, in other words, then you're good to go. That's the basics of a NEMA 2000 network. You add your Sonic Hub 2. There's so many different, like on my Yamaha, all my engine interface cable stuff, that runs right through all of my Lowrance stuff. All my RPM, my trim gauge, everything is on my Lowrance units. I never use any of the gauges from Phoenix or any other motor manufacturer. If I had a Yamaha, I would run everything through my graphs. So, again, guys, I'll answer all the questions here at the end of the thing. Ethernet. I'm going to touch base on Ethernet. It's really simple. Lowrance, and this is one thing you need to pay attention to because this is another key point I run into a lot of during my services. Say you've got 2 units, one at the console, one at the bow. It's connected via Ethernet. You put your Navionics card in the console. You're out fishing for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever else. All of a sudden, you lose your map on your front unit. All right? You take off, run down the road. Okay, it comes back on halfway down the lake, whatever. Fish a little bit more, and it goes out again. So what this is, 9 times out of 10, is a network cable problem. These things that actually, when they first came out with them, really good. And then what started happening is everybody started pulling. So, all of these cables, and they're real thin as it is. What happens is if you've got a cable that's sitting here, and once it goes past 90 degrees, and I see it all the time pulling, they bend it through these little holes and everything else. And if it keeps bending, the shield inside breaks. Once the shield inside breaks, it begins to get intermittent. As of the last month, Lowrance has come out with a new beefed up Ethernet cable that is shipping with all the new stuff. Hopefully we nicked that in the bud and got the reinforced cable. Even the T's on the NEMA 2000, all that's been reimbursed. Everything has been beefed up to try to prevent any more damage. So just keep that in mind. If you start getting an intermittent problem, if you're running a 3D box, and every once in a while you'll see no source, get out there and wiggle that cable. That's most likely your problem. Had a buddy of mine lives right here close to me, Brian Latimer. Been fishing on a tour all year, and basically, he'd go 2 days and everything would be fine. On the third day, he didn't have no source. They couldn't never duplicate the problem, couldn't figure out what it was. Well, he called me, we got on the phone, I was riding down the road, and I said, it's got to be a network cable. I said, you need to get up in there and shake it. He says, well, ain't nothing happening. He grabbed one of the third network cable and shook it, and the light went out. So we figured out real quick that it was the network cable. He replaced it, and we're good to go. That happens a lot because these cables get damaged. So keep that in mind. If you get an intermittent problem, most likely, if it's maps or if it's waypoints, you say you're marking waypoints, this one it's not sending, okay, you got another network problem. As far as your cable, your Ethernet cable, yellow tipped Ethernet cable. So now I covered a little while ago about your waypoints, but I didn't cover navigating back to them. And I've got a video out that's seems like it's got a lot of hits. I'm not sure how many 20, 30,000 views or whatever, but it was basically marking a waypoint. I marked a waypoint on a brush pile and went out, jumped up on the front, and navigated back to it on the trolling motor and went directly over it. And then spot lock right there close to it within 40 feet and made sure I seen exactly and showed everyone how precise these things can be if they're set up properly. So that's the other thing I want to touch on tonight is about how you're marking. And Mark, I'm going to touch a little bit more on this about this waypoint management and how you're doing it. So I'm going to use a Fisher tractor as an example. Same thing in this video that I made earlier. It's on my channel. If you guys want to watch that, it's real simple. You're riding over a Fisher tractor. You've got your 0.1 set up close to the rear transducer. So one of the things that you want to do is whenever you mark this brush pile, don't just put one waypoint on it. You need to go back and think. This is where we use the era positioning pretty much from the satellites. And we have to use that to our advantage because there's nothing we can do about that. So in order to make sure we're doing it right, I have fun with the elites and the tour guys all the time, pretty much making bets and letting them, when I take them out for classes or showing them little tricks, I'll pretty much say, hey, I'll watch them and they'll put one waypoint on it. I was like, okay. I said, how about this? I said, you make one cast, you hit your waypoint, you hit your brush pile in one cast, I'll buy you dinner. If not, you buy me breakfast and dinner. There ain't too many of them that hit it on the first time. I show them one little trick. It's triangulation is the key to being able to hit what you're wanting to hit. I also have a video on this, but I want to make sure that I'm touching on this very, very precise because it will make or break you. When we go to Florida, when we go wherever we're traveling and we're starting every year, and I say, okay, I'm scanning for 2 days or I'm scanning for a day or trying to find fish, and I say I'm finding them on brush piles. When I come hauling tail into that brush pile, sit the boat down, get on the trolling motor, stop within 40 feet. When I hit that first cast, I want to know 100% I'm hitting that, no doubt. I don't want any guesses because 5 wasted casts throughout mine, if I'm fishing 60 brush piles, that's an hour and a half wasted time for me that I could have been hitting. That just increasing my percentages on hitting what I'm aiming. So with that being said, now that you have your 0.1 system set up correctly, and say you run across a brush pile or a rock pile. Let's use a rock pile. Rock pile, we'll go something different than a brush pile. So say we run across a rock pile. Your rock pile is sort of in a rough circle here. So at the very top of that rock pile, I want you to touch the top of it, hit waypoint, name it, top of the rock pile, whatever you want to name it. I'm going to be layman's terms here. After you notch that one, I want you to come to the bottom left of it. This is on side scan or down scan, however you want to do it. Don't really matter. Side scan's really easy. You go to the bottom left of it. You put bottom left rock pile or bottom left, whatever. Go to the bottom right. Now you've got your triangle. So one thing that we know, no matter what, if we look at our charts, and we got charts, on my left 16, I got chart, sonar, down imaging. While I'm running on my right 16, I've actually got full out chart. Now, what I'm actually doing is while I'm scanning, I've got full side on my right 16. So now that I've triangulated that off the side scan, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump up front. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the motor off. We're going to jump up front. Now I've got chart, sonar, and down up front. So I wheel the trolling motor around, and looking, I zoom my chart in, and what you need to do is, now that you're looking at it on your chart, what's going to come up is your triangle. You got a top, you got a bottom left, and you got a bottom right. So what I know right off the bat, no matter what angle I come into that, in the middle of those, I'm going to hit that rock pile, no matter what. So then here's where you go in and you use a little bit. Maybe they want it from the top. Maybe they want it from the bottom. Maybe they want it from the right. That gives you the opportunity to say, okay, I found out where they're at. They're stacked on the bottom left corner in 15 foot of water, but this is what I need to do. So to make this a very high percentage mark to what I need to do, they're not on that shallow side, right? So you leave your triangle there, and then what you do is you back off of your bottom left mark. You turn distance to destination on. If you don't know how to turn distance to destination on, I've got a video out there that you need to learn how to turn distance to destination on. You back off of it. You select your waypoint. You hit navigate, go to. It's going to ask you, we've reached the waypoint. Are you sure you want to go? You hit continue. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me a distance to that waypoint. When I get to 40 feet and my heading is lined up right where that bottom left is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch and I'm going to press waypoint, and I'm actually going to type in stop here, and I'm going to change the symbol to a stop sign. I'm going to hit save. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out, and I'm going to get back on plane, and I'm going to haul ass back over there to that bottom left, sit down, run right up to it, navigate right up to my stop here, waypoint, hit spot lock, and when I get that heading sensor dead on bottom left, I'm making my cast. That way I know I don't run right up on it. I don't know how far I am. I don't have to guess. All my homework is done, and I do this for every spot that I know that I'm going to be fishing during that tournament. You do your homework and you do your due diligence beforehand. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but the boats that I've seen and the people, other anglers, I'll say, I watch them pull up and make 6, 7, 8, 9. They'll hit it twice out of 10 casts. You know, I talk to them afterwards, and I try to help the guys out and say, hey, you making 1,000 extra casts a day that's you pissing in the wind. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I sit there and watch you miss the brush pile, 8 times before you found it. I show him a little trick, and he's like, that's so simple, it's stupid, but it works. It will increase your chances of what you're actually fishing and save you a lot of time. Yes, it takes a little bit of time to do it in the beginning and get in a habit of doing it, but once you do it, you will increase your chances by 100%, guaranteed. So that's what I want to talk to you about as far as waypoint management. David just posted the waypoint management video to the to Lowrance University, he said. The other thing that really, the weekend warrior guys, we don't have to worry about them too much. Now, I don't mean no disrespect when I say weekend warriors. I'm just average tournament fisherman. On average, what I run into on a weekly basis, I would say average weekend warriors, tournament anglers, not in the big leagues, anywhere from 200 to 1,000 waypoints. So with that being said, one of the things you need to take into consideration, a monthly habit that you really need to get into, back up your waypoints. Name them, have a current file, and then have a backup file. Don't just keep them on that little SD card. Once you back them up, take them to the computer and save them in a file or folder. That way, if that SD card gets damaged or get wet, now you're not screwed. Or if your unit crashes, now you're not screwed. Now, for the guys that fish the bigger stuff, and I'm specifically addressing FLW guys, elite guys, all these guys that I deal with on a daily basis. me and Casey Ash, all the guys live right here close to me. Every year we set up our units. So this year, Casey pretty much came to him and said, hey, I need you to run by, get this stuff set up for me. Okay, you're good. I go through, we start looking, we're at 20-something thousand waypoints. So what we're doing is we're breaking them down by state and we're breaking them down by region. They say, hey, we're going to say, let's export Florida on the one card. Then we basically say, okay, we got South Carolina on the second card. However, we usually fish pretty much all the East Coast and over to Texas. So it's really one of those things where, for me, when I started pretty much earlier, I think it was I left Christmas Day to go to Florida for Okeechobee. Between my cards alone, there was 14, 15 cards there. Between many years of fishing and pretty much everything all together, what you end up doing is you gather and gather and gather over the years, and you do not want to store that on your unit, because after you get about 1,500 to 2,000, then you combine trails, screenshots, file transfers. If you download software updates wirelessly, all that stashes on there unless you delete it. What happens is it starts to slow your units down. So what I'm saying by when I say waypoint management, be smart. So I'm going to give you a little example of how I do it. You can do this if you want, just something I recommend. What we'll actually do is I'm going to walk you through how to export a region. Everybody usually knows how to do it. I've got a video on this too, but by showing you and telling you how to do it, it will make a whole lot of sense. So what I'm going to do is say right now, if I walked out into my boat, I'm probably sitting 800 to 1,200 in my 7 lakes around here. There's a whole lot more I've got, but that's just what's loaded. So what I end up doing is, this is what you want to do on an HDS system or a TI unit. So you want to go to Pages, Files, and then we're going to go to Waypoints, Routes, and Trails. And then you're going to see a button that once you click on that, and it's going to come up and it's going to say Export. It's going to say Export Region. You're going to have all kind of little different options there. So what we're going to do, if we're saving Florida right now, right off the bat, say you've got South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Puerto Rico, whoever on there, and you don't know how to separate them up because you're scared you're going to lose all your waypoints, and all you're going to do is you're continuing to save all your waypoints in that one big file. Well, what's going to happen is once that file gets over about 5 meg, the unit's going to say, failed to import. It's too big. So one of the things you need to start doing is you need to separate those files per state or per region or per lake. If you fish one lake, if you fish Rayburn twice a year, put it on a card, get it off the unit. So I'm going to tell you how to do this. Once you go to Pages, Files, Waypoints, Routes, and Trails, Export Region. As soon as you hit Export Region, what's going to happen is your map is going to pop up, and you're going to have a red box. It's got arrows on it. So what's going to happen is you're going to be zooming out and dragging that box over the area that you're wanting to export. So make it South Carolina, make it Florida, whatever you want to do. Once you make it as big as you want to carry, say Florida, we're gonna use Florida as an example. Once you make your box big enough to cover Florida, Florida is one of my biggest waypoints. So Florida, we got right there. Then you can hit export, and it's going to say, okay, what do you want to name this? Okay, so we want to name this Florida 2018, right? Then it's going to ask you where you want to go it. You're going to make sure it's a 32 gig or less SD card. Once you do the 32 gig card SD, and it's in the left port or right port, whichever one, you select that, then hit export. All right. So here's something key. This is what you really need to pay attention to. Once you do that and the little hourglass disappears, what you need to do is do the same exact thing and name it backup. 2 files. Now, You don't have to do that, but here's a way you can confirm that that's a good file. Once you go to Pages, Files, go to My Files, and go to the SD card. Go to wherever you saved it, and we're going to go to Florida 2018. Once we click on Florida 2018, that little window is going to come up there. And what's going to happen is it's going to give you a file size right beside it. If it says 0, you have done absolutely nothing. There is nothing on that card. The file did not save. It had an error. The name was too long. I mean, there was something that went wrong. So as long as it says 1.2, as long as it has a number in the size, 9 times out of 10, it's a great file. I usually don't have any problems. That's just a way that you can double check that it's actually a good file before most people say, okay, man, I exported my waypoints. Then I erased everything. And I'm like, well, did you check the file before you erased everything? Nope. He's like, well, can you get them back? And I'm like, nope, I sure can't. There's nothing I can do to restore those files at all. So I don't have a magic wand. So there is absolutely nothing we can do to get those waypoints back. So just a little bit of insurance to check, go that route, sort of make sure that you have what you think you have. Once you get all your states done and you make sure that you've got everything, your backups, you make sure you take that card out, and then you can go in and delete all your waypoints and purge everything, right? Now go back in and just load what you fish normally. It'll clean your unit up. You'll see a huge increase in speed, refreshing, your chart loading, everything else will work dramatically better. Now, one other little small thing I want to touch on before I start answering questions is the trails. My graph, sometimes, I know you've seen it in my videos, it looks like a kid got a black Sharpie and absolutely went crazy on my map. There is a madness to that I use different color trails for when I'm in big tournaments. A lot of the things pretty much, I have dates on my trails I use and sort of click on, click off. Nobody really pays attention to that, but I do. So I'm a little bit different. I like to just sort of keep my stuff a little bit more hidden just from co-anglers. I had a bad experience with a co-angler at the Costa event, and that he liked some of my waypoints a little bit better than I did. So, but that being said, I just take a little bit more precaution right now. So I think I've got everything covered with the network, with the Ethernet, NEMA 2000 network, Waypoint Management, and setting everything up. Yeah, I'm getting ready to start Q&A right now. So I'm going to go back up and I'm going to actually read a couple of the questions we got going on here. I'm going to read them out loud so everybody can hear. And then I'm going to make sure to get to Anderson and then answering them. Then we're probably going to do Q&A for maybe 20, 25 minutes, whatever. It maybe not that long. Depends on how many questions we got, and go from there. So George Holdridge, I only have one Lowrance HDS Carbon 12 in my console with 3D structure scan and 0.1 antenna. How do I set my Lowrance unit up to recognize the 0.1? George, one of the things you need to find out right away is it showing up in the device list? Is it recognizing it? So what you need to do is you go to Pages, Settings, Network. Instead of Data Sources, you go to Device List. When you go to Device List, it's going to come up with 12 MFD, navigator, all your GPS, everything else. And at the very bottom, if it's recognizing it and you have your NEMA 2000 network powered, you'll see 0.1 at the very bottom. Now, with that being said, that is the same place when you install a new 0.1. When you click on that 0.1 in device list, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll actually see calibrate. What that's going to require you to do, you press calibrate, and when you hit calibrate, you're going to have to complete a 390-degree circle, which is going to keep the boat between 2 to 3 degrees, which it has the degrees right there on the screen while you're moving and completing the circle. So once you get it set, you really don't have to move it. Just put your foot on the gas a little bit, and you may have to touch it here, touch it there. You're going to create your circle, and then all of a sudden it's going to say, calibration okay. So that means that everything is good. Everything is lined up. Everything is calibrated like it should be. One thing that I failed to mention earlier, and I just thought about it, and I think I've said this about my other 0.1 videos, but when you're installing a 0.1, one of the biggest things that you need to look out for is magnetic interference. I didn't touch on this earlier, but there's an app called Magnetic Field Detector. You can download it on iPhone, or you can use a basic compass app. And what you can do is, what I like to do is I like to drop the phone in the center of the front deck. That's where you're not going to get any magnetic interference from anything. And you're going to get a baseline. You get a baseline of 40 or 50 or 60 or whatever it is. All of that right there in the middle is what you're wanting to see. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your phone and put it where you're wanting to mount that 0.1. And you want to make sure that there's not a big jump. In other words, if you got a baseline of 45 to 50, you go back there and drop it on your back deck right there near your transducer, and it jumps to 75 or 80, that's not a good spot. It's got magnetic interference, and what's going to happen that's going to stay right there okay is you want to make sure once you put it right there and it has a little magnetic interference, what's going to happen over time is going to pull that arrow to the left or pull it to the right. And it'll never run right while you're actually moving. So it's really going to throw you off. Same thing if you mount your 0.1 transducer up front too close to the trolling motor head. So just keep that in mind, and you can if you put that magnetic interference up near the trolling motor, you'll see it. You'll feel it vibrate on your phone, and it'll actually go to like 120. I mean, they'll absolutely. If you keep it there long enough, it'll mess your phone up. So keep that in mind when you're mounting your 0.1. That's always the thing. On the 0.1 calibration, you have to do that on the water. That's always a necessity. You always want to do that. All right, let me get to the next one right here. Is Navico and Lowrance 0.1 the same? Lowrance is owned by Navico, so I'm not exactly sure. 0.1 is a 0.1. So yes, they are the same. Where's the best Jim Edmister? Sorry, I butchered your name. Where's the best info for trolling info for the XI5 Motor Guide? Motor Guide is a little sore subject with me. I have so many issues out of them jokers, but I'll address it. YouTube is your best friend. Other thing that you need to do, Jim, is if it's not picking up when you deploy, or if it's not letting you anchor or anything else, there is a firmware upgrade. You have to contact Motor Guide. They will mail you a little dongle and a CD to upgrade your firmware on the trolling motor, and that's the only way you can do it unless you have a Motor Guide authorized dealer right there close to you, and he can actually do that for you. So that's one of the big things. You got to have that gateway kit. Once you have that gateway kit, you can control it by the units. I've got multiple customers that I've actually done that love it. And I've got multiple customers that they want to throw it in the lake. But that's sort of a hit and miss thing, and go from there. There was an older firmware problem on the newer units. They said they got it fixed, but I actually just done one last week that had the same exact issue. Had an old board in a brand new unit. Not sure how it got in there, but that's something pretty much Motor Guide has got to address. They're falling way behind. with this situation, and that's about all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to leave that at that. William Benedetti. Hey, Paul, when using a Navionics chip in the HDS units with the 0.1, what heading do the units need to be on for both units? Heading up or north up? Front and rear HDS units, networked and NEMA. William, that's sort of a personal preference. It doesn't matter if you have a 0.1 either way. The thing about me, I run heading up on everything because it sort of messes with me. If I'm riding down the lake and I see a creek on the right, when I look at my mapping, I want that creek to be on the right on my mapping. I don't want me to be coming down this way and the creek's on the opposite side. That messes with my head bad. So I keep everything on heading up. So, and here's sort of a little bit of confusion factor that some people pretty much get confused is heading up and course up. Heading up is which way the boat is pointing. In other words, if you have a 0.1, that arrow on the front, whichever way that's pointing, that's your heading. Course is whichever way the boat is drifting. So if you have in your chart settings, if you have heading extension and course extension, one is a burgundy and one is a blue, and you're always wondering, why these damn lines don't never line up? They should be going the same way. Well, no, your heading is where the boat is pointed. Your course is which way the boat is moving. So keep that in mind and don't get that confused. That's the reason I don't turn course extension on. I only use heading extension because I'm only worried about where the boat is pointed, because I'm usually pointing it at what I'm wanting to fire at, just out of force of habit. So, let's see. George. Okay, George, good deal. That's good. CS, Paul, I was told that this was on older units and they can tell you based off your serial number. CS, yes and no. Just guy went and bought one last week directly from, I don't know if he bought it from Tackle Warehouse. I don't know where he bought it from, but it's brand new. Absolutely out of the box. Brought it to me. I installed it, got everything set up. Worked great for a week and then absolutely went haywire. I told him he needed to call Motor Guide. And he called Motor Guide, looked at the serial number. They said, nope, that's a new board. Everything should be fine. Or new unit. Everything should be fine. This went on for about a week. I basically made a phone call to Motor Guide, took the board out, showed them which board it was after sending a picture to them. And they said, that's an old board. What's it doing in the new unit? I'm not sure. I don't work there. I'm not sure what's going on with Motor Guide. But like I said, I'm not going to get in the middle of that. I'm about over all their little antics and all the little stuff that they're not making any improvements to their stuff. And I'll be very, very surprised if they're still in business within a year. Let's see here. Joy Mabry. I have a 9 tie up front and a 9 TI at the console connected NEMA 2000 with both units turned on to share a waypoint. Does both units have to be on maps? No, they do not have to be on maps. But in order to use basically Navionics on both units, you're going to have a map card for both units. They will not share mapping at all. And if you're having problems doing some waypoints, that you can contact me outside of this and I can walk you through it. It's no big deal. It's basically a couple clicks of a button. That could have been turned off all the way around, or your waypoints could just be turned off on the front unit or back unit. It's one of the settings. It's pretty simple either way. But yeah, if you need help, you just contact me directly on Facebook or however you want me to, and go from there. CS. I was having problems with my 6-month-old XI5 and thought it needed the firmware update. They told me that my serial number indicated that I had the new board. But in the end, they were right. I had to erase some local settings within my Lowrance unit, and it started working fine. It was when he was using cruise control. So what that was during the software updates, most likely CS, your soft reset wasn't done after your latest update, which clears preferences. So that's pretty much one of the things. Like I've said in all my other videos, if you do pretty much anything as far as an update, software update, you always want to, after you do your update and everything is there, you always want to perform a soft reset to seat your software. That's just a good, healthy practice to do after every update. It resets and gets rid of old files, preferences, everything else. Go back in. I've got videos that'll take you 5 minutes to go back in and set your preferences up, do everything else, and you're fine. It's not a big deal. I'm going to move over just a sec here so y'all can see my contact information. TacticalSonar.com is my website. And 864-992-6362 is my cell phone number. Now, guys, keep in mind, I am on the water absolutely every single day or teaching a class at Cabela's or West Marine. So if you need me, leave me a message or contact me via email through the website. A remote setup call, just a remote call. That's all it is. You call me, you PayPal me $25. I go walk you through your unit, set it up to whatever transducers you have. It's $25 an hour. If we need to do a remote class, I'll have to get you to download, a FaceTime app. It's not, I use a Galaxy S9 Plus, which is, I think the app on it is Duo. Works really well. I've done that, and it works pretty well, except if there's no good reception. That's the only drawback from it. It sort of sucks. But the other thing, just so everybody knows, so if you call me and you want to meet me at the lake, so I'm going to just give you a rundown of how this sort of works. You call me and say, hey, I'm within your 7 lakes. So anything further than 40 miles from me is a trip charge of $40. When I get there, I'm going to set your boat up. I'm going to basically, if I need to adjust your transducers, I'm going to adjust your transducers. I'm going to tweak them. I'm going to level them. I'm going to do that. That's $25. That's before we start the class, because I want to make sure that what I'm seeing is the correct way of everything being mounted. Once I do that, then we're going to start the class. And the class starts, it's $35 an hour for the class. Average class, 2 hours. Most people grasp how I teach in about 30 minutes, and they start picking up. I like to simplify stuff and make it sort of dummy proof. I like to sort of tell you layman's terms of what you're looking at, and I may use a reference. I just like to do it simple, easy, straight to the point. I don't need to tell you a lot of stuff that you're never going to change on the unit. That's a waste of time for me, and it's a waste of time for you, because you don't need to know the geofence of what this unit is doing. You don't absolutely need to know that. So, again, TacticalSonar.com, Tactical Sonar on Facebook. Both of those will get in touch with me. There's a quick reference guide on Lowrance University of a lot of the settings that you can use. Go in there. I've had videos on my YouTube page. You're welcome to subscribe to that. William, I am on the fence at ICAST. Honestly, I am probably going to skip it this year. I have got so many classes backed up right now that I'm hurting. Those 2 weeks of straight rain has really put me under the gun, and I'm still trying to recover, doing 6 to 7 classes a day, and still can't get them in because of all the storms and everything else. Along with my other business, that's keeping us busy too. But the on the water stuff has absolutely been insane here lately. And put it on top of that, this past weekend I was actually in Tennessee doing an install and training classes at Lake Chickamauga and Watts Bar. I do go out of town and do installs and training classes. So if you got a club or something that you want a group of guys, if you want me to come there, contact me. Tell me how many guys you got. I'll give you a price. I'll come in and we'll take care of everybody. We'll make sure everything's good. So I was in Chickamauga and Watts Bar. I didn't let anybody know because I had about 4 classes up there, and as soon as word got out, it went to about 15 to 20, and I couldn't get to them. Weather was terrible, and it just went bad all the way around. So one of the other things, pretty much, tomorrow, Anderson, South Carolina at West Marine, starting at 10 o'clock. I will be there from 10 to 4. My boat, truck, updates. If you need updates, if you need your units tweaked, while I am at West Marine, there is no cost to you. If I leave West Marine, there's going to be a cost to you. But the way that is set up right now, if you come in West Marine and talk to me, there's no charge, and I'll take care of you right then and there. Saturday, Greenville, South Carolina at Cabela's, same deal. If you come and see me on Saturday, my truck and boat will be out front. That way you know I am there. You can come inside. I'll do training. We're going to have a mini seminar at Cabela's and a mini seminar at 1 o'clock both days, one at West Marine. Just some of the basic stuff, not anything major. Showing you how to read side imaging, some useful features that comes in. Nothing major at all. Nothing that's not on my YouTube channels. So if you guys need your unit updated or need them tweaked or anything, you can come up to actually Cabela's in Greenville, South Carolina. I was up at Fort Mill a couple weeks ago. So just keep that in mind. If I don't answer the phone during those hours, you know what's going on. If you leave me a message, I will definitely get back in touch with it. Just give me a day or so. Right now, we're at a point where we have so much going on with Lowrance. I've got so much stuff going on with my company, Tactical Sonar, and meshing everything and doing classes and answering calls. Just so everybody knows, on average, I average somewhere between 110 to 225 calls a day on service. So just it's constantly ringing. So just keep in mind, if you call me, you know sort of what's going on. I've got somebody helping me, training him up, trying to get him ready. So just bear with me, and I promise I'll get back to you. You just have to give me a little bit of time. I usually start making my calls at the end of the day, somewhere around, if it's storming 5, 6, and try to call up to 9 o'clock. I try not to call anybody after 9 o'clock. I think I got one more questions over here. CS, you're welcome. Mark, thanks for watching. If y'all subscribe to my channel. Get time, can we do a clip on structure scan mapping overlay? Yep, Mark, I will take that into consideration and try to work something up there. Ricky Moore, hey, Paul, on the water. Same on weekends, say Lake Russell. Yep, weekends, guys. This will give you an idea how weekends are for me. I looked last night, and the first weekend available as of right now is the beginning of December. They book so fast that it's unreal. Now, every once in a while, I'll have a cancellation. But most of the time, those jokers book up so fast, it's unreal. So most people end up taking a day off work or a vacation day or even an afternoon after work. You know, I'll try to meet you up to about 6 or 7 o'clock. If, you know, the craziness, you know, with the weather and everything else is going on. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, weekends are the same price. It's just getting a weekend is going to be tough. December, my schedule will start back up. They'll announce the schedule November, and then we'll go pretty much, who knows where we're going. I'm sure we start in Okeechobee next year, so we'll be there. All right, I think I got all the questions. Anybody got anything else? I got a couple more minutes here, and if nothing else, I will get onto y'all's hair. I hope everybody understands. If you don't, feel free to give me a call, contact me, shoot me a message on Facebook or Technical Sonar. If I can do anything else to help anybody, just let me know. I'm sure in a couple more weeks, me and David will sit down and we'll come up with another schedule. If you actually look at Lowrance University, he usually puts a poll up there to ask what you want to talk about. What I'd really like to do one night, it's not going to be at night. It would have to be, during the day. And it would have to be an afternoon. And I know that's going to be real tough for everybody else. But I'd love to do a live on the water so I could really show you some cool stuff. So we may have to schedule that, maybe a Sunday afternoon or something that I decide to take off. Got some new goodies to play with, and would really like to show you some of the reference with underwater video and showing you how to confirm stuff by, dropping a camera down on it and say how I read sonar and how I can tell you what it is, without looking at structure, just being on the water and time like that. So maybe we can get that set up. The other thing that I really want to do, and it's going to be really hard to do too, it's probably going to have to be on a weekend, is transducer placement. But I have to be outside, and I have to be able to have good lighting and set up. I'm going to have to actually have someone with me to video. So it's going to be a little bit harder to do that, but I'm sure I can try to get that done. Transducer placement is probably the biggest issue I have with people installing their stuff themselves. They want to save 150 or 200 bucks. They spend 3 weeks trying to get it right versus then they bring it to me and everything gets right. So, but I greatly appreciate everybody watching, hanging on. Looks like the guys are smashing them up on the tour on the smallmouth fishery up there at Clare. And but I hope everybody enjoyed it. And if I can do anything to help, everybody get in touch with me. I appreciate y'all watching, guys. Thanks, David. Go ahead, Jared. I'm still here. Jared, on your 2D, if you see the front half of the arch, yeah, most likely your transducer is cocked just a little bit. The way that you can tell that real quick, and a real simple way to do that, or if the half arch you're seeing, he's either half in or half out of the beam. But the real simple way to do that is tie on a drop shot, half-inch weight or half-ounce weight, and while your trolling motor is pointed directly straight, drop to the right of the trolling motor, drop to the left of the trolling motor, and see which return is better. If you get a stronger return on your left, that transducer is ticked a little bit to the left. If you get an equal return, it's straight. If it's ticked a little to the right, it's you're getting a better return to the right. That's what you're pretty much running into there. That's very, very common. It does not take much to bump that thing. But, that's the big deal. Just pay attention to the placement. If you're only seeing your half arches and everything else, and it's probably cocked one way or another. That's the most common problem. Or the fish isn't coming all the way in. But if all your fish are half, you should be seeing some full arches. But if most of them are arches, you should be good. About up or down. Yeah, it can be up or down, but what transducer are you running? HDI? The puck? Which one? Or just a standard skimmer transducer? Okay, so one of the things you need to do with that is I would recommend getting a little cover from Transducer Shield and Saver that would basically keep that thing level and keep it from moving up and down. It's not very expensive. Like I said, that's a skimmer transducer, so it's not really made for the trolling motor. And if it ticks one way or ticks the other, it really makes a huge difference. So if you go to Transducer Shield and Saver, Scout is the owner over there, and he'll take care of you. And it's just basically a little cover that goes right over that transducer, and it holds it pretty much. It's like the HDI trolling motor adapter that goes on the HDI for the trolling motor. It just doesn't let it move up or down. It keeps it solid and level, and it takes care of everything for you. I hope that helped. Oh, so it's on your transom. Okay, my fault. I thought you were saying pretty much on your trolling motor. Yeah, so as long as basically it's level, there's a horizontal line on the HST WSBL. The horizontal line, that basically what it does, it looks like it seams the top and the bottom of that transducer. That line that goes all the way around the transducer needs to be dead even and equal with the bottom of the boat. That's basically where you get your great returns at. Okay. Good deal. Yes, sir. No problem. Steve, no, not necessarily. I've glassed plenty of those in, but as long as it's done right, it's okay. Now you're going to have when you glass one in, what you're going to run into is you're going to have the temperature of the hull versus the temperature of the water. So just keep that in mind if you glass an HST WSBL. But it'll read just as fine as long as it's done correctly with no bubbles and slow setting epoxy and everything else like that. If I had a choice, I'd be putting PDRT. That's what I glassed in this past weekend in the new Bass Cat Lynx. It's got the remote temp sensor that goes down beside your jack plate. Yep. Hey, gamer, how are you, bud? I'm doing good. All right, guys. Well, we've been on about an hour and a half. I'm glad we got everything taken care of. Again, if you got any questions, anything else, just let me know. Reach out to me, and we'll go from there. I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.